the design of infinity. You are an infinite being, and infinity itself is also the design of divinity, because the divine is infinite in nature and provides a fascinating view of a particular design that seemingly no one is remembering or even want to remember. It is fascinating because the nature or design of infinity follows a Fibonacci spiral. It spirals. But this spiral never begins and never ends from a perspective of beginning and end, because the beginning is always the end, and therefore it follows a peculiar design, that of a circle. Circle which is done in the form of a donut, and around this donut circle, the circle or the outer perimeter of the circle would be like a pipe around which the infinite design would flow, which if you put it on a flat piece of paper takes on the shape or the design of the mathematical sign infinite for infinity. Now imagine if you take that sign for infinity and you shift it, and where it crosses its lines it starts another flow of infinity, that same design. Then it looks like this design where you're continuously moving in a donut, in a circle, around and around and around. Every layer of this representing one life, either here on earth or in the dimensions. And there is as many lives as you can imagine, which the primary design of the life will always take the exact same geometrical pattern. But the picture that depicts it, that means the perception you have of it, the experience you have of it, which is picture-based and which is your participation-based, will be different in every life. But the primary design, that means the essence of what you're experiencing, will be exactly the same. But we found, for instance, when we got down to the atomic level of every being in existence, we found at the atomic level the past lives predesigned. These past lives predesigned was an actual being. It wasn't you. It was an actual being that was representing you as all your past lives. And this being could take us back through a person's lives and depict all the lives. What was fascinating is that in essence each being in existence existed as one point only. So in the original point, which was seen as a decision, as a choice, you would have made only one choice. For instance, the choice to understand anger in relationship, as an example. Then every single life after that would be a perspective on this single one point that you will keep on going through. And if you would eventually transcend that single point, you'll go into the next point. What we found was fascinating is, due to the fragmentation of the planes of existence, the energetic perspectives of a single point, it'll take you many lives, on average 10 or more, to transcend one point, which is why no one could ever actually transcend existence. You would move within a pre-designed hierarchy, a pre-designed perspective that was set as various paths to enlightenment. These paths would apparently give to you a choice. some of the best known ones would be the 7 paths you can take, and you can become either a solar logos or a planetary logos or some great master or some great ascended being. All of these paths were as designs within your infinite design. This infinite design following actually the exact same geometrical pattern based on an energetic representation of your experience, which you would interpret through a mind consciousness design. That means a system design that gives you the interpretation of the energy as either feeling or emotion. Now, what's more interesting is that obviously that you cannot remember any of this, because you cannot exist at any given moment within your infinite design in anything more than the pictures that you can handle. And your life is depicted in the pictures and experiences you have, and you can have only one of these in every given second. If you have more of those, you go mad, and you end up as a schizophrenic or something like that. Which is why you don't remember, because you can't handle all the pictures. Your mind design is actually incapable of handling it. Understanding within this, obviously, that there are 2 minds. The real mind, which is not infinite, and your mind, which is infinite. Your mind in infinity is an infinite design in a donut form, in a circle form, that continuously moves through a Fibonacci spiral, which you can see everywhere in consciousness, this Fibonacci spiral. Everything you look at always has the same design. You go down, and what the bleep do we know shows us so beautifully. It's such a bleep that no one sees what they're really looking at. You're really looking at yourself in infinity, which is always the same, and that you are never transcending and never actually going anywhere, and never actually understanding creation at all. You are always just busy trying to take control of the pictures and experiences you are having from an energetic, emotional, frequency, vibrational perspective. So, what was fascinating is that obviously within this design you would have a life here on earth, and then you die, and then you'll have a life in the dimensions, then you reincarnate and you have your next life, which is pre-designed within the frequency design of this reality, which is depicted as pictures. These pictures then would evolve. That means they will become more colorful. They will take on more and more mechanical natures, more and more technological natures, because the nature of the mind is technological. It's a technological device, and it will take on the nature of the mind more and more, until eventually you have used up your energy source, which is normally a planet. When that happened, and the planet no longer lives, because you have taken all its life force and you have transmuted its life force into energy. That energy is then transmuted through your physicality or your experience of yourself within the dimension you are in, which is a mental plane within your perspective, because it's a mind plane. That energy, that which you didn't use, the extra of that, has been transferred to the design of the infinite, which stood as heaven, which was then going to God, and God would use the extra energy you have to design the necessary control to make sure you never realize what's really going on. Which is such a nice thing about God, because God really always looks after you and makes sure you're always happy, and that if you adhere to the design of yourself, that means the system, the Lord, which is the law of the system, if you adhere to it and you remain within the law, which is including the law of balance, law of attraction, law of life, all kinds of laws that was designed within the system, then the law will support you and you will pray to the law using words which is frequentially designed to lock into these laws as they exist within the design of infinity, and then it will give you a result, and if you have enough faith, you will manifest your greatness according to your faith. And you will say, God is real, the divine is real, and I am infinite, if you now further take that further and further. Obviously in the stages of those that are still looking for a Savior, like Jesus, or a Master and so on, you're at a very early stage of your
mental development.
Of your experience, from the perspective that you are so completely controlled through many lives that you are virtually incapable of actually realizing what's the truth. The truth of the design, for instance. The fascinating thing is obviously to try and remember your past lives. Imagine that in the life that you are now, you're experiencing that this life is ultimately important to you because this is the life you're having. And that you have great specificity in wanting this life for you to work in every way possible. Imagine that in every other life you've been, you had exactly the same experience. So you had exactly the same experience as now. The question is, why can you not remember the detail of it? Never mind that. Why can't you even remember the detail of yesterday, of a week ago, of your childhood? You cannot remember the detail of your first 7 years of your life. Very, very little can be remembered. If you have to write down a detailed account of every single breath you had in your first 7 years, it is impossible to do. If you want to write down the detail of last year and every breath of what you actually experienced, every thought you had, every feeling you had, every experience, everything you participated in, all the people you met and so on, you'll find it impossible. Because your mind design simply cannot handle it because it's moving on in time. This time that you're moving in is not real. This time is the time of your mental evolution within the depiction of yourself within your own experience as energy following a Fibonacci spiral design that is following an infinite flow, spiraling. That's why when you are observing anything in the universe, you see it is spiraling.
Galaxies.
Everything spirals. Why? Because you're spiraling in your design and you're really actually creating existence. But because you submitted yourself to inequality, to be unequal as creators, to allow yourself to abuse each other, you ended up in this peculiar lesson. Why is it a lesson? Because this lesson will take you to a lesser and lesser and lesser and lesser point of yourself until what remains of you will be nothing but just you alone, with nothing, no ability, no perspective, no nothing, and you have to start again. Which is, we've already had 11 cycles, or we're in the 11th cycle of that happening, where we destroy everything, and then we start again with this whole process of infinity, and every process takes multiple billions of years, where you go through immense trauma and pain and suffering in your refusal to consider that all life is actually equal. Because your self-interest is to keep your little world and pictures and experiences and energies going. Now what is fascinating is that those that is actually following the white light is actually following the mind construct design, because the mind construct design, when you get down to the nitty-gritty of the essence of the mind design as system, it's white. The total thing is white. And on this white, in this white, you will create your experience. So your backdrop is white. And obviously the brighter this light, have a look, it takes you time and effort and meditation and invocation to design this bright light that you're experiencing as yourself. None of it is real. and have a look. Beings don't have the same experiences because it's all by your own design. That's why we have gone through great lengths of destiny to make sure that the presentation through the portal is the same, that there is a realization that every being in existence is exactly the same. There is no difference between two beings. Because the moment you're not the same, you're unequal. It doesn't mean that you have to be the same in your individual expression as such, but in terms of the message, that means who you are, that is exactly the same. But through this infinite design, a fascinating thing has happened within the principle of equality. Each being in existence is placed in their own infinite Fibonacci spiral design, within which you are depicting only your experience, and you are equal to that. And therefore you cannot really see another person's experience because you are consumed by your own experience. What happens is this is plugged in as an actual system. Now you have to understand, your senses, the eyes, the ears, all the senses you have, your sixth sense and everything you have, all your perceptual senses, are limited to frequential design. That means you have limited access to the frequencies that exist here. That was specifically done to make sure you cannot see the actual physical, mental, mind design that exists inside your body, which is actually existing in 3D, in a different frequency than what you are able to perceive. And that mind design then sucks the life out of the physicality, which indirectly sucks the life out of the earth. Okay, because you are from the earth. And that's why you end up growing old and end up dying like a sucked out prune, in a way. Obviously, to make sure nobody catch on, that everybody do not end up in the same way, it was pre-designed that some beings don't die like that, so that you don't have any way of realizing what is really going on, because it's not happening to everybody exactly the same. Everybody's lives seem to be different, because your particular design is specifically placed as you equal to your design. That is the equality of the system. That's the oneness of the system. In that, then, everybody is within a one system design, which is the unconscious mind, the subconscious mind, and the unified consciousness field, which follows exactly the same pattern, which manifests then as your world design. Like, for instance, your money system, your food system, your sex system, your education system. All of those designs flowing from the singular design within which each person is existing. That comes together then in a big design which seems to flow continuously as if it has always existed. But if you really have to look back, it didn't always exist. It come out of you. You have created it, therefore by that you take responsibility for it, and you start to believe that that is you. And because you have created it, you have an obsession of never wanting to destroy your own creations, even if it is absolutely destructive. So therefore you will hang on to it and defend it at all costs. You believe that your allegiance is your creation. You believe that a man came to save you, like Jesus. You believe another man came to show you what is balance, like Buddha. You believe many things. And those beliefs, because they come from your realization, which wasn't real, because remember, it comes from your Fibonacci design of your infinity, and it was placed there as a realization that compound through time, which is your time, not real time. It compounds through time. That's why everybody don't age at the same way, because your rate of aging is depending on your level of mental planes, as in your Fibonacci design, it actually pulls through the energy from your physicality. If you go through great stress, for instance, you will age overnight, which means suddenly in your life you have multiple layers of your Fibonacci spirals that take energy from you, and those points you normally spike your energy. That means the energy is taken into the system to feed the system. So at the moment you'll have a lot of people in the world, for instance, aging quite fast because the money system requires energy. The money system is busy crashing, so it'll suck on everyone as much as it possibly can. What is quite fascinating is that within this design was placed the ultimate deception. The ultimate deception was that God had to get everyone to believe this for eternity, not for infinity, for eternity, forever. Then God could be God for eternity, the eternal God. So God designed the infinite system to create an eternal system. That eternal system is not here yet because that design never completed. The infinite system exists as the infinity of divinity. And have a look, everybody sits in a position of their own design of memory, mental planes that overlap through a Fibonacci spiraling effect that they cannot remember anything else but what they're going through now, which is based on your self-interest. Have a look, when you fall in love and later on fall out of love and then start to love somebody else, how quickly you forget your past relationship and how easily you go into your new one, which is just showing you that all the love you're really going through and experiencing are not real. It's an energetic design that you plug into and you get the energy, and then once you've sucked the whole relationship point dry, you move on to the next one where you create energy, then you suck that one dry, all of it on behalf of a system. A system that is actually alive, running existence now. It wasn't always like that before the system became alive or took over existence. It was heaven that was in charge. Heaven is now no longer in charge. The system is now in direct control. It controls the channelings directly. It controls what the psychics see directly. It controls what the remote viewers see directly. It controls everything in existence directly now, which is fascinating. And it has a fascinating purpose: to exist forever. And it has the perfect feeding ground: gullibility, self-interest, selfishness. And what's this other beautiful new word again? Spitefulness. The ultimate point that is used by human beings to destroy their children, themselves, their friends, their families, their existence, nature, everything is destroyed through spitefulness. Spitefulness is the point, was the original sin in existence. Adam and Eve and the fruit of the tree of knowledge of good and evil and the snake, have a look. That whole interaction there was one of spitefulness. To spite God, to spite creation. But that was not actually true. It was actually God spiting man into an eternal cycle of infinity to keep man for eternity as the supplier of energy to God, because God in essence is equal to who we are. We are that which God is. But if we can be taken to a point where we give permission to eternally give our energy to one being, we will eternally make that being more than us, and we are eternally enslaved to that being. Which is why the enslavement systems manifest on the earth the way it does, where you have elite, which is God, and you have the plebs, which is man. Exactly the same system, have a look throughout history, has kept on manifesting no matter what revolution, no matter what attempt to change the system has taken place in the past. World wars, revolutions, you name it, new religions, it doesn't matter, the same system comes back. All it does is it reboots, it changes its picture, it changes its players, it changes its props, it changes its books, it changes what it's designed around, and it does exactly the same geometrical pattern. Until it's done, then it's the new one. And then it's the new one. And so you have multiple designs of donut-formed, spiraling Fibonacci cycles with no beginning and end, because it is in a circle that keeps on flowing for eternity. You cannot change this unless you stop participating in it. The tools of this is specific. Destiny, we show you the tools, we give you the support. to assist you to see the deception of yourself, the deception of life, the deception of each other, and how the abuse really work. Obviously, in spitefulness as a system, you will attack destiny because you are spiteful in your very nature, because you're trying to get back at everyone because you believe something is being done to you. Not true. You gave permission for this. You actually designed yourself. You are designing yourself in every single moment within your own timeline, based within your own expression, where you are repeating the same patterns over and over and over and over again. All you have to do is actually stop, get everyone else to stop. We all stop together and this ends. Heaven has already been stopped. It means there is no more heaven. There is now only earth. Heaven in truth is now on earth. All beings in existence are now within the physical reality. Obviously you are limited in your frequential ability to see, so you can't see them. And obviously they are not in a physical designed form as what you are. That is specifically related to a creation that is based on a design that takes its form and its matter from the earth. In the dimensions, there is no such forms, and we will not explain exactly how it looks like, because otherwise you'll make a mental picture about it. We'll give you a form, but we will not say what it really is, so that you have a way at least to find out when you can really see actually. And understand that the dimensional beings, when you are dead, you cannot talk, you cannot hear, you cannot think, none of those things, because all those designs is dead. They don't exist anymore. You don't talk anymore. You don't hear anymore. None of those things exist anymore. Come on, it's common sense. It was all part of your flesh design. You were not able to speak from the beginning when you were a child. You were taught how to speak. You didn't hear in the beginning. You were taught what to hear and how to hear, depending on your language. The design is specific to show you your deception, to show you how easily you get fooled and how stupid you really are. And understand what I'm saying, stupid, it is not personal, it is fact. Really. If you attack destiny in any way whatsoever, understand that that's your greatest point of dishonesty, because destiny presents the actual answer for everything and will explain every single thing in existence and trap every spoiled, spiteful being in existence into their cycles of correction, which will follow the same cycle until one has stopped this abuse and deception. And you're all screwed. Have a look. Why screwed? Because the nature of the Fibonacci spiral, as it spirals, is following the nature of a screw. It's screwing in, it's screwing you down. You're all screwed. You also get Scrooge McDuck. That's the Greek part. So please, hear me. Whether you hear me now or whether you hear me when you had enough discomfort and disease and enough pain in your existence, which is now all that is going to remain in the time to come, as a continuous repetition of destruction, pain, an absolute mess. Your drinking water will become undrinkable. Your food will become untrustworthy. The very air you breathe will become untrustworthy. Every single thing in existence that you trust. Your money will become worthless. Your trust will become worthless. Your governments, every single thing in existence will become an absolute mess. Remember this when it happens. And remember what we presented in self-forgiveness, self-honesty, common sense. Unfortunately, the only fortunate thing that remains in existence is what is now to come and what is already here, a madness that will ensue as the dimensional planes of the being merge with the multiple memories. They'll start to go mad because they can't handle all the memories.
It's like a degradation of the...
It's the system being compressed from an infinite design into a singularity.
Where
That
they were all
means
separated.
everything will be brought together as one, which is one fuck-up, not a great oneness. There is no great oneness. The oneness exists already. It exists as the system that exists now, where everybody is supporting each other in their deception. There is no oneness you can trust. All oneness is deception. When oneness is equality, everyone equal as creator, in fact, not in a mental plane design of infinity, then you can say there is oneness. Now, oneness is used for deception and for making money and for not standing up and stopping this design. The beings that is involved with oneness are some of the greatest deceivers in existence. They are part of, remember that anyone that now is in a position where they are noted in the matrix are all the lackeys, all the people that worked with the reptilians and the Anunnaki. Their fact that you are able to hear them and like what they're saying is because it was pre-designed into your timelines to actually like what they're saying and to have an insight according to what they're saying. That's why your insight is not your own. You have not actually found yourself. You have found what they are saying to be representing what you believe you are, which is a pre-design placed into you. These things you have to stop for yourself. You have to get to an understanding of what self-honesty really means, what equality really means, what common sense really means, and what self-forgiveness really means. You have to realize that everyone is equal in self-forgiveness. Everyone will go through self-forgiveness. There is not a single being in existence with any access to what is real. You only have access to your mental planes, and your mental planes are infinite. Because of the design of it, you can have multiple experiences and believe that they are real. They are not real. They are just you accessing the design of the system, which you believe to be God, which is not real. All meditation, all experiences, all yoga, all channeling, all psychics, every single one. Have a look for yourself in self-honesty. This point was inevitable, that there was going to be a challenge for everything in existence, presented by one singular point, saying, have a look what you're doing. The only way to stop yourself and everyone else is to stand at this one point. That's the destiny of man. Come on, the words were chosen specifically. It was no coincidence. No person will be given access to anything before the design of this deception has been stopped and sorted out. And we'll remain here. Understand that there's now multiple timelines and time is slowing down. And there will be many experiences, but understand that all your signs are based on what the observer observes according to the laws they believe in. You cannot see anything outside your pre-designed mind construct. Beyond that, you're blind. You always only see who you are within your belief system. It is just a religion. Whether you're a Christian or an atheist, a Christian and an atheist are just polar opposites. An atheist is actually a Christian. A Christian is actually an atheist. You're just supporting each other. You're just playing a game within one singular plane of a polarity of infinity design. Two polar opposites within the Fibonacci spiral as it spirals within an infinite design. You're all coned. It's a cone design. It's a con design. It is consciousness. Wake up. Wake up means there is a way where you can get out of this. That way is to stop. So it's not a path to follow. There is no path. No path. Who you are really does not exist as a path. It does not exist as a way. It exists as self-honesty, common sense here as life. Direct. And have a look. Human beings cannot agree with each other because why? You are each in a separate infinite design of your own timeline, of your own design of energy and vibrations, and you believe that to be your truth. And you are equal to that, and within that con of equality you will fight for your existence, and you call that choice. There is no choice. You never had a choice. Ever. Not a single thing you ever done has been anything more than what a washing machine would do in deciding what cycle it'll take on now according to the weight of the dishes you've put in there to wash. I'll have so much heat and so much cold. That's not a choice. That's just fuzzy logic based on your feedback from the system you are living as. There is no choice. You never had free will. You never will have free will. It does not exist. You do not even have will. Your will is pre-designed. That's why you are events-driven. Events happen to you, and then once the event happened, then you're suddenly clever about what happened to you. Not real. It is not real. There is no higher self. There is no God. There is no ascended masters. There are no angels. There is none of these things. They are all existent in the pre-design of your mental planes. All that exists. There is no near-death experience. The near-death experience is a mental plane where you access the design of the mind. Not the real mind. The real mind has no design. It has no perception. It has no experience. It cannot be seen. It does not exist as anything. Because to be something means to be limited. Come on, common sense. We at Destiny don't have to do this. We are here, therefore we do it. To support so that the amount of suffering and pain, if possible, could be alleviated a little bit, but there will be pain, much suffering for everyone because of the dishonesty. Understand, for every single cycle you have allowed, you will have to walk through it. Even if you forgive, it will not stop. You will pay for it, meaning you will have to face it again and go through the pain of stopping it. It will not go away. If your life is without pain, you are dishonest. You are creating your life to be without pain through suppressing what is real. You are not considering the suffering that takes place in this existence. Hear me. There is no infinity. You are not an infinite being. You are infinitely fucked. Realize that. We'll talk again. It is fascinating because the nature or design of infinity follows a Fibonacci spiral. It spirals. But this spiral never begins and never ends from a perspective of beginning and end, because the beginning is always the end, and therefore it follows a peculiar design, that of a circle. Circle which is done in the form of a donut, and around this donut circle, the circle or the outer perimeter of the circle would be like a pipe around which the infinite design would flow, which if you put it on a flat piece of paper, takes on the shape or the design of the mathematical sign infinite for infinity. Now imagine if you take that sign for infinity and you shift it, and where it crosses its lines, it starts another flow of infinity, that same design. Then it looks like this design where you're continuously moving in a donut, in a circle, around and around and around. Every layer of this representing one life, either here on earth or in the dimensions. And there is as many lives as you can imagine, which the primary design of the life will always take the exact same geometrical pattern. But the lives, and depict all the lives. What was fascinating is that in essence each being in existence existed as one point only. So in the original point, which was seen as a decision, as a choice, you would have made only one choice. For instance, the choice to understand anger in relationship, as an example. Then every single life after that would be a perspective on this single one point that you will keep on going through. And if you would eventually transcend that single point, you'll go into the next point. What we found was fascinating is, due to the fragmentation of the planes of existence, the energetic perspectives of a single point, it'll the design of infinity. You are an infinite being, and infinity itself is also the design of divinity, because the divine is infinite in nature, and provides a fascinating view of a particular design that seemingly no one is remembering or even want to remember. The picture that depicts it, that means the perception you have of it, the experience you have of it, which is picture based and which is your participation based, will be different in every life. But the primary design, that means the essence of what you're experiencing, will be exactly the same. But we found, for instance, when we got down to the atomic level of every being in existence, we found at the atomic level the past lives predesigned. These past lives predesigned was an actual being. It wasn't you. It was an actual being that was representing you as all your past lives. And this being could take us back through a person's